Hello again. So used are we to the geopolitical status of the world that it seems quite natural to us that the Middle East and North Africa should be areas of Muslim influence. We feel much the same way about Iran, Afghanistan and Pakistan. That these are Muslim nations seems to be in the natural order of things. Europe, though, is Christian and has been for many centuries. It lies outside the Muslim world. This too is a state of affairs which we take for granted, seldom stopping to ask ourselves why this should be the case. It's just how things are, isn't it? Except, of course, that it has not always been this way, and on three occasions in the past, Europe has come very close indeed to falling to the forces of militant Islam. It may be that this continent is again at hazard of doing so. Islam has always been an aggressive and proselytizing religion. From its beginnings in Arabia, it spread out through the Middle East with astonishing rapidity, north and east. Then the tide of conquest turned west and North Africa fell to the armies of Islam. In no time at all they crossed the Straits of Gibraltar, and by 715 AD the whole of Spain was under Muslim rule. A year later Lisbon fell, and then in 720 the host of the followers of Mohammed crossed the Pyrenees mountain range and swept into France. For the next dozen years they consolidated their position there until the forces of Christendom united and the Muslims were driven back into Spain following the Battle of Poitiers in 732 AD. Because Islam is working to an eternal timescale, that of God rather than man, there has never been any particular hurry about their efforts to subdue new territories. They know that they will do so sooner or later. So it was that in 1529 and then again in 1532, the Ottoman armies under the Caliph Suleiman the Magnificent reached the gates of Vienna, and it seemed that the heart of Europe would fall to Islam. Once again, though, they were driven back. There followed a century and a half of mixed warfare as the Muslims fought to weaken Europe by using naval forces in the Mediterranean to seize European possessions such as the island of Cyprus and Rhodes, while at the same time building bridges and roads in Hungary and the Balkans to prepare the way for their next invasion, which occurred in 1683 and culminated in the Siege of Vienna. While this was happening, the so-called Marine Jihad was conducted by means of privateers which raided Britain, Spain, France and Italy, hoping to weaken Europe's will to resist. Eventually, after a fierce battle, the armies of the Ottomans were once more driven back from Vienna into the Balkans. Now, 350 years later, it looks to some people as though a new attempt is being made to subdue Europe to Islam. There are no Muslim armies marching on the continent from Turkey, and nor are there ships from North Africa harrying our coasts. Instead, large numbers of Muslims are landing on the shores of Europe, or even being transported here openly by arrangement with the governments of European nations, including those of Britain and Germany. Christianity used to act as a psychological barrier to Islam, but the number of Christians in Western Europe is in free fall. In some countries, such as Britain, children are taught to hate and despise their own culture and have been indoctrinated to think of white Europeans as being responsible for all the evils of the world. The will to resist a slow invasion by means of infiltration and the installation of a fifth column is no longer present as it was in 732, 1529 or 1683. Europe has been eaten away from within, and the gates of the citadel are standing open. Some militant Muslims believe that the West is decadent and ripe ready to fall, and that finally Islam will be victorious here, as it already has been in much of Asia and Africa. In the description to this video, I give a link to a piece I've written on this subject in my Substack account, in which I go into more detail than is possible in a short video such as this. It's free to read if anybody watching this wants more information about the topics on which I've touched in this video.